All right, ladies and gentlemen, like I mentioned to you on the last show, I would be back talking about one Jaden Bradley, selected with the 50th pick in the 2026 NBA draft, second round by the Toronto Raptors. And I'm going to talk to you about Dan Tolzman, talking about him, why they picked him, my initial reaction, college history a little bit, and just my thoughts overall on one Jaden Bradley. So I'm going to jump right into this thing because I did tell you that there's so much going on right now in terms of bringing in your new draft pieces, trades that are starting to happen, signings that are going to be happening as free agency is about to kick off, summer league is about to happen, and all that kind of stuff as well. So there's a bunch of stuff that we're going to have to be talking about over the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, month. There's just a lot. There's a lot. So we got to be on the ball here, and we got to get this thing moving in the right direction. So first of all, I want to start this off by saying early Sunday morning, this is weird. Okay. Typically I don't do this stuff pretty early, but I decided why not? Why not? Let me just get up and bang this thing out and get you guys watching, hopefully, while you're fresh still. And a lot of you guys will probably catch this a little bit later on, but I just decided get up early, get this thing going, and let's chat some hoops. So Dan Tolzman, okay, he did do a press conference on why they ended up taking Arizona's Jaden Bradley with the 50th pick. And I like this pick right off the bat. And I'll tell you more about my initial reaction in just a little bit. But some of the things that Dan Tolzman said was a perfect example of success in college, an accomplished player. He did play 4 years in the NCAA, 3 at Arizona, 1 at Alabama in his first year as a rookie in his collegiate career. But he has played a lot of basketball. And that is, completely different than what we saw with our first round pick. But either way, I do like this pick. I think a lot of us were familiar with who Jaden Bradley is. We've seen him play over the years. High motor, good two-way player, can do it all for you. Well, I wouldn't say do it all for you, but he's highly skilled on the offensive end, more as a defensive player. But, if the offense can catch up to the defense, he'll be a pretty good steal in this draft, if you ask me. Tough player, can play off the ball, and those are the words from Dan Tolzman, not me. But yes, extremely tough player, good physical defensive player. He's around 6'2", I believe. Let me see if I can find his weight. Well, they have him listed here on Basketball Reference at 6'3" and 205 pounds, but I can never really go with what I see. This is just ridiculous. I'm seeing another site. They have him at 6'3", 185. I don't know about that. But anyway, he has some pretty decent size. And, Dan Tolzman, like I mentioned, can play off the ball, tough player, accomplished player, played the 4 years, perfect example of success. And he's a gritty two-way player. He can adjust and make the right plays. All right. A point guard, very under control, makes the right plays. He's quick. He's fast. And I'm going to break down his game a little bit after, not all the way down, but just tell you about some of the things that he can do and why I really like this pick in Jaden Bradley. The Raptors as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is pretty crazy. The Raptors were the only team not to trade their second round pick. So looking at a guy like Jaden Bradley, the Raptors probably had them really high on their radar in that second round. He fits nicely on the roster, can contribute right away. And Dan Tolzman, you know what he talked about? And we discussed this on the last show. He talked about he fits nicely at price point. Remember when I talked to you about, because of all these new things happening with the NBA in regards to the aprons and making sure you don't get relegated at the bottom 3 of bad teams in the NBA, so you lose lottery balls and your chances diminish of getting the top picks. Remember I was talking about that? So you can't be completely abysmal anymore. We talked about that. You don't want to be in that realm anymore. You want to be out of there. So you need to start putting pieces on your team. If you have an extremely young team, you just can't tank and be awful. You want to make sure you have a few veterans. You want to make sure you have some people who can play on your team, and that will get you out of that bottom three. But with that being said, the point of why I'm saying that is Jaden Bradley, a guy that you can bring in who can give you minutes right away and be productive for you. Because Dan Toldman mentioned roster price points. You need guys who can come in, contribute, that you don't have to pay a lot of money to. You can't overspend and go crazy anymore. That's why there's a balance now, right? There's parity in the NBA, which this is what all these different rule changes and stuff, this is what it was meant for. We've seen now, what, 8, 9 different teams have won the championship, different team in a row. This is what it's for. This is what Adam Silver wants to see. He wants to see the power in the NBA have some type of balance. And so you got to now figure out different ways on how you're going to structure and construct your roster. And getting the right rookies is going to be a very important part of that. Now, my initial reaction to this, I loved this pick because, like I mentioned, we know who Jaden Bradley is. A lot of us are extremely familiar with his game. All right. And once again, you don't necessarily, and this has been said a lot, and I'm going to share my screen with you guys in just a little bit, but there's a reason they don't go by needs. You take the best player available that you believe at least is the best player available after you use your eye test, after you look at some data as well. You want to make sure that you are selecting the best player that you believe available, right? That's what the Raptors do. I can't speak for every other team in the league necessarily with what their draft strategy is, but the Raptors are looking at best two-way players in the building. Good morning, Johnny. How are you, my friend? That's what the Raptors are looking at. And the reason they don't go necessarily by position, if you haven't heard me speak in the last couple weeks or so, is because you may draft a certain position where you have a need. And then in the next week or two, you get a signing, you make a trade, things happen, and now your roster is completely different. So where you had a need before, now it doesn't become a need because you make a trade and you fill that position that you needed. And now you could have gone out and got a different player, a better player in a different position that, things could have been different. That's why they don't do that, because your roster can change very quickly. He's played a lot of college minutes, by the way. He's a leader. Like I mentioned, can play off ball. Look how many minutes. Now I'm going to do some screen share with you. Oh, which one do I want to share with you first? Let's go here. Okay. Look at the amount of minutes this guy's played. So first year here at Alabama, as you guys can see, 733 minutes played, 729 in his second year as sophomore, as junior, 1,262 minutes, 1193 in his last year. So he's played a whole bunch of basketball. Why the hell does that matter? Because experience does matter. Experience does matter. All right. And I'm not saying that's the case with everybody. We understand that, you're going to have guys that you take that only have 1 year, maybe have 2 years. But I think especially watching these point guards, when the ball is going to be in their hands and they are crucial for decision making, you want a guy with a little bit of experience. I mean, obviously you're going to find your anomalies, and you guys have players that are extremely talented that are going to be at the top of the draft, right? And you're not going to pass up on those guys. But when you are late in the lottery, you have the 45th, 50th, 55th pick. You want to be certain to a I mean, you could only be certain so much, right? You could do your due diligence. You can do the best job that you can, siphoning through data and using the eye test, obviously, to get the best available player. But when you are in a position like the Raptors are, where there's a whole bunch of players that are kind of dangling right now, you're not really certain on who's going to be on your roster at any position. There's like two or three players that play on the Raptors that you know are not going anywhere. And aside from them, you don't know what this roster is going to be looking like in a week or two. You really don't. You need to try to improve your team any way that you can. So if you can find a Jaden Bradley and you believe he is a really good two-way player, maybe he's going to have to play more minutes for you in his rookie season than you think as a 50th pick. That is where experience matters for you more. And I say that because it does make me wonder, and I see your comments here, Johnny. I'm going to get you in a bit. It makes me wonder because the Raptors now have a bunch of point guards. I mean, you got obviously Emmanuel Quickly, and like I mentioned, we don't know what's going to happen with Emmanuel Quickly. Jamal Shed is there. Love Jamal Shed. I don't think he's going anywhere. But you also have Martin. You also have Hepburn, and now you're bringing in Bradley as well. So you got a lot of point guards here. And okay, Quickly, he's your starting point guard. We don't know what's going to happen with him. Jamal Shed, we know, is still going to be getting a ton of minutes with what he did last season and what we saw him do throughout the playoffs. And Quickly is a damn good player as well. But I'm just saying, right? With all these different contracts, numbers, being close to the tax and all that kind of stuff, I'm just saying you don't know what's going to happen. Elijah Martin, I do want to see him continuing to improve. I like Elijah Martin. Unfortunately, with Hepburn, he was injured for months and we didn't get to see him towards the end of the season at all. So still kind of unsure what is going on with Hepburn. And, you know, bringing in Bradley, he's definitely going to be pushing guys in practice. I do think he's going to have the opportunity this upcoming season to play. I don't know what is going to happen with the Raptors, but I've said this for a couple times now. There are a lot of teams in the Eastern Conference that are getting better right now. And I don't know what the Raptors are going to do, but this is one of those summers where I kind of do expect the Raptors to do something. You need a bit of flexibility with your roster construction. There are some pieces where I think they want to move off from. And I'm not 100% sure how they may or may structure a trade. Like, I don't know if it's going to be multiple players. There's just a lot of things that they're going to have to figure out here. RB61395. I will get to your comment in a second, too. Thank you very much for putting it there, but I will get to it. I'm just saying, overall, the Raptors have a bunch of point guards right now. Quickly Shed, Martin, Hepburn, and Bradley. And there's going to be an opportunity here for Bradley. That's all I'm saying. He's a damn good player. We're going to watch him in Summer League. And if he shows that promise and shows it early, get ready. Get ready. Him and Shed are going to be playing. Now, we'll look at some of his numbers from college, even though I won't stay on this too long. I'll tell you the aspects of his game more that I like and want to see when it comes to Jaden Bradley. But I mean, he was a 4-year player in the NCAA. Okay. Like I mentioned, 3 years at Arizona, first year in Alabama, played a lot of basketball. I read you this man's minutes over the years. Okay. Now, okay, let me share my screen with you again. We'll go to the other screen now. Let me see. Yeah, let's go here. Now you look at steady production. Look at his minutes over the years as well. I mean, didn't miss a lot of games. 37, 36, 37, 39 games played in each of these seasons as well. Minutes per steady increase 19, 20, 34, 30. Look at his field goal percentage. You see his effective field goal percentage here as well. Free throw shooting has been quite good. 3 out of 4 years, shooting over 80%, which I like. When I look in the steals column, number one as a point guard, I'm definitely looking there. Almost 2 steals a game in his junior season, 1.5 pretty much in his final season. 6, 7, 12, 13.3 points per game. Shooting at 3-point range is what I'm looking at as well. 31, 46, 32. He's not a great 3-point shooter. I wouldn't look at and stare at the numbers too much, because when you watch him, right, when you watch him and you look at his game and you see him in the flow and rhythm of the game, the man can play. I'll tell you that. And the favorite part, I'm going to start breaking down some of his game and what I like about him. We'll get to that in just a second overall. Of course, as a PG, aside from, his ability to put the ball in the basket, I'm also looking at what he can do from an assist standpoint. 3, 2, 3, 4 over that time. Rebounds, 3, 2, 3, 2, 2, 2, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you know what? I'm not necessarily going to stare at the numbers, because once again, if you watch the games and you watch the man play, staring at his numbers won't necessarily tell you how much he can or cannot impact the game. And that's for every player in that regard. But I will say this: he doesn't miss a lot of games. And just my thoughts overall. So I'm going to start talking about him a little bit. I like the pick. I mean, he's played a lot of basketball, like I mentioned, in these 4 years. He's playing a position where you got to be a really good decision maker. You have to be high processing and understand how to read the floor. You got to be able to communicate really well with your teammates. And, when you look at the impact of a guy like Jamal Shed, who was taken, I can't remember, somewhere in the 40s. He was like 42 or 45 or something like that. When you see a guy who's coming into your squad at 50, Daniel Franklin, what's going on, my man? I'm going to get to your comments in just a second as well. Don't underestimate the level of production or impact that a guy can have on your team just because he's drafted, late down the second round or something like that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like I talked to you about this yesterday, right? Opportunity, staying ready. We've seen a whole bunch of guys, and we see it all the time, players who are drafted first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, whatever. You could say top 10, and they turn out to be nothing or don't do much in regards to the NBA, at least. We've seen that often. And we've also seen players who come in the second round who turn out to be your NBA Finals MVP. They turn out to be Hall of Famers, multiple-time All-Stars, impact makers. And once again, I've mentioned to you, just because you're not an All-Star or a Hall of Famer, that doesn't mean that you are not a fantastic NBA talent or NBA player. You have to be a star in the role that you are in. You all play different roles, and it takes you all to do them well for you to be able to be successful and win at what you're doing. And I think Jaden Bradley, with him being an accomplished player, playing a lot of minutes, and who can do so many different things at both ends of the floor, has a chance, an opportunity to come in here and really, put in work for the Toronto Raptors right off the bat this season, especially when we don't really know what's going to happen with this roster yet. And so just a few more things that I want to talk about, and I'll get to some of your comments in just a second. I'll get to all of your comments, actually, if I can. But when I look at some of the things can do, when you watch the film on this guy, or you've seen him live in person. A lot of you, I'm sure, have. I'm sure a lot of you have seen Jaden Bradley, the 50th pick, play a lot more than you saw Alan Graves, right? Um, we're talking about if you said right now who was the Big 12 player of the year, you would probably say it's a man who went to BYU who was the number one pick in the draft, AJ DeBonta. It was not. It was not. The Big 12 player of the year this year was Jaden Bradley. We're talking about a guy who is a good lob passer. Okay, he can get into the heart of that defense, come off that pick and roll. He can go one way and throw the lob pass in the completely different direction. He can do that. I really like his passing ability and throwing it over the top of the defense to that whoever the rim runner is, guy in the dunker spot, go up, grab it, catch it, flush it home. I like that he can split the double team at the top of the key, completely obliterate the defense, break it down, find the open shooters or get straight to the basket. Good in pick and roll. Comes off the pick hard, can go to the basket, step back from three, make that pass to the roller. He's quick and fast, which is what I like about him as well. Because a lot of the times, there's a difference, right? Like when you're quick, you have the ball in triple threat and you're in the half court and he wants to make a move, whether it's, a jab step, go off the dribble, get to the basket, get into the paint, even get in there, pull up at mid range. The quickness to break that defense down and drop it off to whoever you got to drop it off to in the dunker spot or find a shooter or whatnot. A lot of the time when you're looking at players, you 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 can find a player that's quick, and at the same time you can find a player that's fast. But a lot of the time you can't find both. You don't find a player who's quick and fast. Like if you're a basketball player or a coach, maybe you'll pretty much you'll understand what I'm talking about. If you're not, entrenched in the game, maybe you won't necessarily understand or know what I'm talking about, but there's a difference, right? Like quickness to me is more in a half court set. You're able to make a quick move, burst off the dribble, getting into the lane, exploding, going to the basket. Fast is like end to end, right? You get the ball off of an outlet pass from your big or whoever, and you can go end to end, boom, quickly, 2-3 dribbles, and you're already damn near in the paint. Okay. Quick and fast at the same time. And I like that. And you can push the tempo, right? Once again, can get the ball off the rim, get that outlet pass, boom, and he's gone. He can push that tempo. That is something that I talked about religiously. For those of you who watch me during the season, running the floor, the Raptors were the number one team in the league this year in fast break points. And I think they want to continue to do that. They want to run because they have the pieces, the horses, right? To get out there, move the ball, play fast, score before the defense sets up. And the Raptors, remember, they weren't a good offensive team. I mean, they weren't necessarily abysmal and terrible, but they weren't good either. So anytime you can run and score before that defense gets a chance to set up, you had to take the opportunity to do that because in the half court set, yes, they were limited. All right. And he's first of all, he's a 3-level scorer as well. Gets to the basket. I'm talking put some pressure on that defense. Can pull up from mid range, can hit the three, not great, but he can hit the three. Don't necessarily stare at his numbers for his 3-point shooting, but when you watch him in the flow of the game, he's not going to force up bad 3-point shots, and he'll be aggressive and try to get to the baskets, pull up from mid range, but he can shoot the 3-point shot as well. He can pull up from mid range, so he can do it all for you, right? He can confuse the defense. You don't know where he's going to try to score from, but he could do it at all 3 levels. And the great thing is, when you see him going to the basket, he has really good body control in the air. really good body control in the air. Like when he gets into the lane, dips that shoulder into you, and either he's going up and under, using right, left, falling while still trying to make the bat. He has really nice body control. And I like that about Jaden Bradley as well. And so I'm not going to go crazy here and make this episode as long as I made it with Alan Graves, because you guys suckered me in once again. That was supposed to be a 20-minute show with Alan Graves, and you guys turned it into an hour. Not going to let you guys do that again. Maybe. But let's see. Maybe I'll keep my notes here while I get to your comments. And I do want to say something. Will, Lou, and Alex, appreciate you guys putting out a lot of those pressers for us that we can get that content, audio and video. So I appreciate that. Don't know if they'll ever get to see this, but thank you for putting out all those pressers and press conferences and stuff, because that's where I'm seeing some of the stuff on YouTube. So much appreciated. Johnny is in the building. I'm going to go to Johnny first. What's up, Johnny? Good morning, Mike and everyone. I watched the episode yesterday. Hopefully, Alan Graves will be a good rotational player for us. I do think he'll be a really good rotational player for you. I don't know how long it will take, but I do think he's going to get minutes early, especially because I do not think, unfortunately, we will be seeing Sandro Mamukelashvili back in a Raptors uniform. But we don't know. We don't know. But I do think if you re-sign him, you have to make other moves to re-sign him. I do think he wants to be here. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there. RB61395 says, I think Quickly can play more of the 2-guard this year. Point Scotty, Shed, and maybe Bradley can handle the ball. You know what? That's interesting. That's interesting. It's a good point. We've discussed that Quickly could do that. And maybe, yes, you might see that. I wonder kind of how they would navigate that a little bit, even though I do understand, just instead of handling the ball, just put him on the wing, you'll get your shooting there, because really when we think about the 2 spot right now, we're specifically thinking about RJ Barrett and Jacoby Walter, and we're really, and I mean really, uncertain what is going to happen with RJ Barrett. There is a really good chance that Barrett probably will not be in a Raptors uniform. He's on an expiring contract, and we don't know if he's going to get a new deal. We don't know if he's going to be, used in a trade or whatnot. We don't know. So Jacoby Walter is a guy that I'm thinking about. And Quickly is a guy that you can scooch over, play him a bit more at the 2. You can still use him at the 1, but you can put him over at the 2 as well, and he could provide some shooting for you in that area, because he is a bit more of a 2-guard than a point guard. I see that. So you bring up a good point. That could be interesting there. Johnny once again says, I heard Chuck is going to sign a 2-way with us again. Okay, so I think I did hear that. I wasn't sure if it was necessarily confirmed at the time, but I guess it is. So thank you, Johnny, for bringing that up. And when he says Chuck, for those of you who don't know, he's talking about Chucky Hepburn. Okay. We should get Jalen Duren if we can. Heard he wants to be signed and trade. The other top names for center is like Walker Kessler, Mitchell Robinson. You know what? Interesting you brought that up. So I did hear about Jalen Duren and his contract negotiations with the Pistons coming to a standstill. I'm wondering what the heck happens there. That is an interesting point to bring up, Johnny. You're so right about that. Walker Kessler. I wouldn't mind a guy like Walker Kessler, but I'm not signing a guy like Walker Kessler to an astronomical deal. I heard he wanted to sign something crazy, and maybe he gets that. maybe gets that. I'm just saying that the Raptors are already in a situation where cap space, damn it, is tight. And I mean, very tight. So getting a guy like Walker Kessler, sure, I don't mind that. But how much you're going to give him is ultimately the question. And I mean, that's kind of the question for everybody at this point. You don't necessarily want to do a whole bunch of overpaying right now in regards to these contracts because of that second apron. You need that roster flexibility, and you got to make sure that you find creative ways to bring in good pieces on the cheap, and make sure that you have depth to fill out that roster for multiple different reasons. Mitchell Robinson is a guy who's been tied to I wouldn't say a lot of different teams, but I know he is heavily coveted around the league by a few teams. Just a really good rebounder, can finish around the basket for you, catch that lob. Can you imagine if that guy can shoot free throws? If he can improve his free throw shooting, I mean, man, he will make himself millions of more dollars, millions of more dollars if he can make free throws. He should be focused on working on that. Good question there, Johnny. Daniel, hello, sir. You said my initial reaction to the draft was Raps could have drafted Phylon and Visar. So I think Raps fan will always look at those two and what those two do long term. Completely agree with you there. And that's the thing about the draft. It's you're looking at not just the Raptors but other teams as one. You're like, damn. When you use the eye test, you're like, yo, Phylon, Visar. So I agree with you there. You will look at those guys and say, what are these two going to do? When it comes to Phylon and Visar, you'll look at them in summer league, you'll look at their numbers, you'll see what type of productivity they have in the regular season, if they're getting minutes as well, by the way, because it all depends on fit minutes to go around and all that kind of stuff as well. And you can't really see it necessarily right off the jump, off the bat. So, we can't go crazy on judging these guys, obviously, in November after they play 10 games. But maybe, when you look at them by February or March, you're like, okay, maybe we could have done better with getting this guy or that guy. But, it's a long-term thing. You can, judge it by what you see. Like I said, in the first initial months or so, but it's a long-term thing. But yeah, I do agree with you. There's always the what ifs, you know? So yeah, I feel you. In the end, Raps got a nice point guard and center, and I'm hoping they can make an impact. On top of that, Raps got an interesting player in Graves. So I'm excited. Yeah, it's interesting. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to what we see in summer league. So, I know a lot of people don't watch summer league and don't really pay attention to it. It's more for the diehards, and I'll be completely honest with you. I kind of hate summer league as well. Like it's kind of exciting because you see what what your young players can do and that kind of stuff. But uh, it's brutal to watch sometimes. It's it can be both. I think you can look at it from different ends, but yeah, summer league can be tough to watch, but I enjoy it time to time. I will be paying attention to what these young guys do in summer league. I think the schedule is out already. I could be wrong. I've never been to a summer league. Have any of you guys ever been to a summer league? I've never been to a summer league before. And I wouldn't mind going for like 10 days or something to go check out the Vegas Summer League. I think that would be pretty cool. Is it around 10 days a week, maybe? Maybe a week? I don't know. I don't know if I can be in Vegas for 10 days. For Raptors basketball, maybe a week or so. That might be nice. What's a player comp from Bradley? That's a good question. I would have to come back and give you an answer for that, maybe in the comments. Can you leave that in the comments after? That's a good question. And now that you put it out there, Um, it's gonna haunt me because I'm gonna try to find one for it. It's a good question, James 09222. Um, Before I forget, because you guys are here watching on an early Sunday morning, one thing I do have to do for y'all is, I gotta, yes, yes, all of you, I gotta drop a bomb.
I'm
You guys are,
ballsy. I don't take no shit from anyone. I smoke my stogie anywhere I want.
oh yeah, yeah, you guys deserve that one. Fantastic. If Bradley becomes Tyrese Maxey, Raps win a chip. That's a bit much, but I like your thinking. I don't know about that, but I like your realm of thinking. I mean, damn it, I'd rather think that than think the other way. So you know what? I'm okay with that. Hi and happy Sunday. Appreciate you. Johnny, let's get back to we can't play full-time point Scotty unless he improves a lot on his conditioning. You know what? When it comes to that as well, that's where Alan Graves and Murray Boyles are really going to help Scotty because you don't necessarily have to stick him on your forwards, your big forwards and centers and shooting guards and everything all the time now because Colin Murray Boyles is one of those guys who can guard those multiple positions, and Alan Graves is going to be able to guard multiple positions as well. How quick or nimble he will be in regards to him being able to um, guard those players on the perimeter, I guess we'll find out a little bit more. We know Colin Murray Boyles is going to be an all NBA defender. Like this upcoming season, if you ask me. That's what I think. But that's where Scotty will get a little bit more of a break if they don't have to necessarily put him on the best player all the damn time and let him get a breather. That will help some of the conditioning, even though I do agree with you. And they all got to work on their conditioning. I agree with that, but I hear you. You can't play him at point full time. You probably won't play him there full time, but he will be there for more minutes, like you're mentioning. So I do kind of see that. Back to Daniel. We saw last year that Darko really likes a lineup where Shed and Quickly played together. So Bradley could do that too. Yeah, you're right. They could do that as well. Two guys on there, quick, can play make, right? Can shoot the ball for you. And I think Jamal Shed, that guy's a workhorse. He's a workhorse. We have seen what he's been able to do. Imagine Jamal Shed when his jump shot improves. And no, he wasn't a great shooter this past year, but he did knock down threes. And in the playoffs, he knocked down some big threes. He's got kahunas. And being in that gym, working on that 3-point shot, being able to see that combination of a Quickly, a Bradley, a Shed. At least we know that at the point guard spot, we are going to have reliable, high processing, two-way, reliable players. That matters. You guys watch the playoffs. You saw guys who showed up. You also saw point guards who didn't. You got to make sure that at that spot, it's crucial. Every spot is crucial, but the point guard has the ball in his hands a lot. And so, yes, I do hear what you're saying. Yeah, you could see those the tandem of these point guards. Interesting. Thank you, Daniel. Johnny is responding to Daniel here. This was only because BI couldn't handle the ball and IQ isn't a true PG. Isn't a true PG. He's more of a tweener combo. Johnny, you keep bringing up Jalen Duren, and you're really making me interested here in following this story a little bit closer. Yeah, apparently Jalen Duren and his camp felt disrespected from the Pistons offer. But a part of that was because the Pistons, Jalen Duren, he didn't look great in the playoffs. It was bad. I wouldn't say I'm not saying the guy was terrible or anything like that by any means. I'm not saying that. But for an all-star, I mean, it was not a good showing. No. Come on, man. Johnny, come on, man. You can't be serious here. He wants 287 million for come on, bro. That's not happening. I mean, listen, if he can get it, get your money. Get your money, please, by any means. Go out there and get it. But almost 300 million for 4 years for Duren, I don't see that happening with any team in the NBA. That's crazy numbers here. That is ridiculous. But listen, like I mentioned, I ain't against players going to get their money. If you can go out there and get that money, get that money. I appreciate you guys. And listen, if you know anybody who likes this type of content and loves the Toronto Raptors, NBA basketball overall in general, please make sure that you like, subscribe, and share this show. All right. At Mike Roach 7 on IG, at Mike Roach 23 on X. Like I mentioned, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, please make sure to do so. And speaking of analytics, we've been talking about a whole bunch of stuff when it comes to the draft and all these players and all that kind of stuff. The large majority of people who watch this show, and I'm talking about over 70% when I look at the data on this show, are not subscribed to the show, which is strange. So people come in, they watch the show, but they don't subscribe to the show. They just come back and watch. That's pretty interesting. Anyway, if you can do so, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the show so you don't have to keep searching for it. I'll just pop up on that algorithm on our YouTube homepage and so on and so forth. But thank you guys for joining me. Hold on. I'm going to get to 2 more comments here quickly because Johnny did follow up here. It's because he made NBA all third team or something. That's why his max can go up to 287 from Pistons. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying there. Daniel, since talking trades, see, this is what you guys do. This is what you guys do. I'm about to get out of here, and you guys just suck me back in. You just suck me back in. Since talking trades, what do you think about a Kawhi return for something like BI, Grady, and some draft assets, hoping it's second? Well, here's what I think about that. I'm not going to answer that right now, Daniel, because you're ruining the fun for the next show. You're ruining the fun for the next show. Remember, this was about Jaden Bradley. Oh, we're getting to Kawhi Leonard. We are getting to Kawhi Leonard because I have some things that need to be said when it comes to that topic. Okay? You almost got me. You're baiting me in there, Daniel. But don't worry, I'm going to be getting ready for that Kawhi Leonard show. We're going to be talking about it. I'm going to go start on working on that script immediately. And you'll be getting that show really, really soon. Make sure you get to my page and check out when that show is going to be taking place, because I will schedule it and make sure you guys are catching it live so that I can, because when we do that show, it's going to be a lot of questions. It's going to be way more questions and answering stuff and me interacting with all of you guys than my notes and talking about that subject, because that is a type of subject where questions just need to be pouring in, and we'll all be talking together about that one. Johnny says, have a good rest of Sunday, everyone. Let's go Canada in the World Cup. Yes, we are hoping for big things out of Canada. We're hoping that they get the W. Enjoy your Sunday, everyone. Be safe and take care. This is another episode of the Mike Roach Show. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll be back again soon. Peace, and I'm out.